Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, if you intend for your child to attend public school this year, then you may have confronted problems registering them at the school of your choice. Education officials are anticipating significantly larger school populations this year. In fact, Education Director Lionel Sands says schools in the Southern District of New Providence are filled to capacity. In this report, Cyan Thompson tells us how education officials are handling the increased numbers, which have left some parents frustrated.
Carolyn Brown is among those parents having problems finding a public school for their children.
I don't see why they should turn me down, because with you getting uniforms, it's a problem. Because when you go to Anatole Rogers School, that goes from grade 7 to grade 12.
Director of Education Lionel Sands says the school population in the Southern District have doubled since last year. Some of the other public schools are following that same trend. Along with population shift and some 2,000 students from private institutions entering public schools, Sands says it's now an issue of managing the already overcrowded system.
The problem we have is our capacity at high school. The capacity is about 750. Any numbers over that create for us a management problem. We have no school in Southern New Providence, whether it's in the Southeast District or the Southwest District, with that capacity. In other words, we have, for example, at S.C. McPherson, we have over 1,400 students already in that school.
Sands stated that primary school students who graduate are automatically enrolled in high schools in their district.
The process is this: when you are graduating from any one of the feeder schools that I talked about, you're automatically registered in that particular school. The same is true in any other district. For example, at Gerald Cash Primary and Garbentines Primary, those students would be automatically registered at Anatole Rogers Junior High. And so that's a given.
The Director of Education says this does not change the fact that every child in the Bahamas has a right to an education. Mr. Sands says that public schools still have space and parents can in fact get their children enrolled.
We're asking parents if they can bear with us. We can place their children in another school out of that district and provide the busing for them. But of course, you know, that's a challenge in convincing parents that this is the ideal thing to do, so they would insist that their children be placed in a school near to where they live. And so we are faced with a huge challenge where the capacity has been exceeded by almost double.
Again, students who live far from their schools will be enrolled in a busing system. Some 52,000 students are expected to return to public schools on Monday. Cyan Thompson, ZNS News.
And as thousands of students prepare to return to the classrooms Monday, officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force are urging parents and guardians to be on their guard, bus drivers to desist from harboring students, and students to obey the rules or face prosecution. As Andrew Knowles reports, all of these issues and more are being highlighted as police also prepare for safety and security challenges that come along with the opening of school.
Ahead of Monday's school opening, police officers are cautioning parents to ensure their children's safety, and for a number of good reasons. Superintendent Stephen Dean highlighted a major concern as it relates to bus drivers harboring students during school hours. He noted that officers have received numerous complaints of students riding around in buses, especially schoolgirls.
The reports are coming across our desk that there are 1 or 2 bus drivers who knowingly do these things. They picked up young girls and they ride around with them all day. So police will be taking action this school year. So we are not just focusing internally on the school, but we are looking externally of the things that happen from the home to school. Whether you're walking to school or whether you're driving on buses.
He warned that officers will take action if bus drivers are found harboring juveniles. Superintendent Dean also encouraged parents to be more vigilant and accompany their children to school, mainly those at the elementary level who are most at risk.
We find incidents where we have 6-year-olds have to walk to school by themselves, 7-year-olds, and they are catching buses. You are leaving these children vulnerable. Person's going to be out there lurking around, possibly trying to molest your children. So we are saying to you, make sure that your children are secure.
Meantime, officers are also sending a stern warning to students, taking a zero-tolerance approach to those found carrying any weapons or illegal drugs to school.
Violence towards teachers, towards other students, will not be tolerated. And students, not because you are young that you feel that you will get the brush by the law. If you are found with these offensive weapons, firearms, drugs, screwdrivers, or other type of instruments, you will be dealt with, prosecuted internally, be dealt with by your school, and you will be dealt with by the police.
As Superintendent Dean says, officers have a number of strategies in place, but chief among them is police visibility at the different schools and intersections across the island. Additionally, he says officers will be out in full force this weekend and into next week, issuing tips to parents. Andrew Knowles, ZNS News.
Well, truancy remains a problem for education officials, and as this school year starts, officials say additional steps will be taken to ensure students are in school when they should be. At a training workshop for school-based police officers at police headquarters today, education officials discussed how truancy affects education. Chief Attendance Officer Angelo Strawn spoke with our Janaea Noel Ferguson on the challenge of keeping students in school.
School attendance or truancy officers will be out in full effect come Monday when the new school year opens to ensure that all public students are back in the classroom. However, officials say the job to get them back in the school is not as easy as it may seem.
Young people nowadays, for various reasons, carry knives. Some of them even carry guns and other weapons. And so you have to be careful as an officer. We go out actually on our own. We don't have the support necessarily of other persons. There's very few of us. So you may be one single officer, for example, a female officer, in the heart of Baintown by yourself. You have to know how to approach people.
Angelo Strawn, Chief Attendance Officer, says the problem is most prevalent in junior high schools. It's also an issue that National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage is concerned about.
Over 1,000 students present serious enough problems with absenteeism to be referred to a school attendance officer. And the numbers are just about 50-50, male and female, as it pertains to children not attending school as they should.
Parents have to ensure that their children are in fact attending school. There's a responsibility for people in the community. There are many people, adults in the community, who know what's going on, who know the children who go to school and those who do not, and we would require them to report it. We now have urban renewal being established within these communities, so I don't think it'll be as easy this school term as it may have been for the last several years, because there are police officers and others who will be going through these communities on a daily basis, and I suspect that will have a serious impact on it.
But Mr. Strawn says there are underlying challenges that attribute to truancy.
It's difficult to get them back in school for this one reason. A lot of our schools are very crowded. You know, because of the economic situation, many parents who had their children in private schools have now brought them into the government school system. And so you have to sometimes put them in a school that is out of the zone from where they live, and that poses a challenge sometimes.
Undoubtedly, the 9 truancy offices on the island have their hands full, but Strawn says their success rate of returning students to the classroom is about 85%. The challenge, he says, is keeping them there. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
The government signed a multi-million-dollar loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank today to help reform the social and trade sectors while positioning the country to compete globally. State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis says $16.5 million will fund the trade support program. Now, a new customs automated system is included in that. Meantime, $7.5 million has been allocated for the social safety net program. The initiative is expected to reform the delivery of welfare assistance in the country. Meantime, institutions related to international trade will also be strengthened. The resignation of former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham from his North Abaco seat becomes effective tomorrow, August 31st. At that time, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major explains the constitutionally mandated steps which will follow.
The duty of the Speaker is to write the Governor General, His Excellency, indicating that there's a vacancy, attach a copy of the letter therein, and from that point, the process, according to our Constitution, will then take effect. The authority for me as Speaker to do this comes from Article 90, verse 5 of our Standing Order of Rules of Procedure. And again, we are complying with Article 67(3) of the Constitution. And so the Governor General will then write a formal writ to the Parliamentary Registry Office indicating that there's a vacancy in the House of Assembly for the seat of North Abaco.
Now, you would remember that back on July 25th, Dr. Major informed the House that he had received Mr. Ingraham's letter of resignation, but that he regarded it a promissory note. While some had expected for Mr. Ingraham to speak first on the agenda on that day, the Speaker decided that Mr. Ingraham would speak on item J on the agenda. Upon that ruling, Mr. Ingraham abruptly left the House of Assembly without making his planned final address. And within various circles, some have opined that Mr. Major's move may have been politically motivated. Now, the Speaker has denied those claims, stating that he's a slave to the rules of the House of Assembly. He added that he was a bit surprised, though, at the timing of the resignation.
It was a little bit surprising. It was a bit unusual. Of course, anyone could resign in which manner that they choose. He chose to do it that way for his reason. We respect that and we honor that. But at the time when the House was sitting, it would have been inappropriate for the procedure based on the rules of the House for that to take the precedent that obviously it did not. And so it was a bit unusual, but he chose it. He chose to do it that way. We respect it, and the date is upon us now.
Well, still to come tonight, we hear both sides of the Cash for Gold saga. That's after the break.